Well, hello, DirtFish friends. The Arctic Rally of Finland is done and dusted, and what an event we have had here. Massive congratulations, David, to the organisers. They put on a world-class event in that
6
kind
weeks.
of time. Amazing.
Yeah, incredible.
Amazing. Let's have a look then at the result at the end of this event. Oyt Tanak needed a result here, and he got one. He very much kickstarts his season with a win on the Arctic Rally of Finland. Kalle Rothenberg, second. Do you know what? He was disappointed with that. That's a mark of where this kid is at. Thierry Neuville was a third. Craig Breen coming into the car for the first time in 6 months, a very creditable fourth. Fifth was Alvin Evans, battled all weekend, picks up good points. Sixth, Katsuta-san, he's delighted, I'm sure, with that. A really solid start to the season for the Japanese hotshot. Oliver Solberg, seventh on his debut in the WRC. Really, I don't think we've ever seen a better debut. Eighth was Teemu Sunen, and ninth was Gus Greensmith. And rounding out the top 10 was Esa-Pekka Lappi. A dominant performance from Lappi in the WRC2. David, you're looking at me. You've got lots to talk about. Just hold it. Hold it for a second. Because what we're going to do now is have a look at what that result means for our Drivers' Championship. Who, David, quick one for you, the youngest ever leader of the Drivers' Championship?
Is Kalle Rothenberg.
Is Kalle Rothenberg, 39 points. He leaves here with second. It is Thierry Neuville in second place with 35 points. Sebastien Ogier didn't score anything. Well, he scored 1 point here. That gives him a total of 31. Evans is also on 31. And Oyt Tanak moves up to 27 points. It is remarkably close in the Drivers' Championship after two events. We then have to go and have a look at what this result means for the Manufacturers' Championship. Could have been an absolute disaster for Hyundai. The boss was demanding a performance. That's what he got. Toyota Gazoo Racing still leads 88 points to Hyundai's 77. M Sport are in third on 24 points. David, that is the formalities very much out of the way. Let's talk performances. I said it there. Adamo came here in a remarkably bullish mood. He was absolutely livid after Monte Carlo. They established why that happened. They put things right. Great team performance from Hyundai.
A fantastic team performance, and fundamentally there was nothing wrong with this car. When they came to Monte, it was the preparation aspect that was wrong. They were all exhausted from Monza and a really short winter break. They came here, they did a test. Everybody really struggled a bit with the test, didn't they? Because you were here, Cole, and it was minus 30, minus 25, minus 30, mornings, quite different conditions, and that it represents, regardless of whether you're testing on a watered road, which is iced, or in completely natural bit of road, it's totally different. You get much more grip from a really, really cold road. It's for me. We could see this one coming from the minute Monty finished, and you could see that look on Adamo's face. He was not happy, and he would put everything into getting it right this time. He's done that.
He has done that, and you can't help but think, what would the reaction have been? Because we all expected Toyota. They haven't been beaten in Finland, and we know how quick they are in Sweden every year. We all expected Toyota to come here and do exceptionally well, but we knew they would be handicapped, particularly from the road position on the first evening.
This is, Tanak, we spoke to him then, and he said this is, Toyota land. This is where their car was born. It's where it was brought up, and it's, they are a bunch of drivers who are very, very comfortable in these conditions. So it would have been no surprise if Kalle had won. Maybe a small surprise if Oshie had been second, but certainly, you look at Taka-san and Takamoto-san, and he has gone incredibly well here. So it's not a complete disaster for Toyota, but...
No, it's not. It's not. I'd agree with you. But let's, as I say, let's concentrate. You mentioned Oyt Tanak there. What I found remarkable in the post-event interview that we did with Tanak, and he did talk about the fact that they were working right up until shakedown. They'd made some changes. They'd identified, they'd looked at the data, they'd looked at the dynamics, and they'd identified certain areas where they felt, let's just change that. And the only opportunity they had to change it was shakedown. They were working right to the very last minute to give Tanak the car he wanted.
But I refer you to what I've just said, Cole. The test was very, very different, and the conditions had evolved sufficiently that it was around -5. I can't even remember. Friday, it had warmed up a lot, hadn't it? By then.
No, Friday it was plus. By the time they'd finished the first stage, it was +2.
So you're talking a sort of 25-degree shift, 25 to 30-degree shift. That has a massive impact on the setup. So it's not a huge surprise to know that they were still finding stuff. You know, it could be roll bars. He talked about it was in the chassis. So, you know, it's a setup thing that they found. It was nothing new. It was nothing. There were no eureka moments. Also, what we need to remember is it's a long time since we've had conditions like this. You know, Sweden last year was shocking. You know, there wasn't a lot of winter around. You've got to go back to, I think, probably 2018 to the last really good winter rally. So it was a different place. So on these kind of events, you know, we go to Croatia, you would expect the teams to be using shakedown. It's here, it's at these new events where you're seeing, you know, a fourth run, sometimes a fifth run at shakedown.
Yeah, which they're allowed to do. You know, what surprised me about Tanak's response, he was very, very positive all weekend, and he did lead from start to finish, but I dared to suggest this reignited his championship challenge, and he looked at me and went, we're only on the second round. So, you know, there was never any doubt in his mind that 0 points from Monte Carlo, you know, it's just one of those things. You have to deal with that during the course of a season. It wasn't catastrophic at all. It was during the course of a season. What about Thierry Neuville? Thierry Neuville...
Fabulous result.
I think so. I genuinely don't think we can underestimate the challenge that he faced going into Monte Carlo. And what's been super impressive is the way that they've gone about it. Again, he's understood that it was going to take time. It was going to be difficult. As you keep saying, a strange alien sound in his head during the stages, something he's very much not used to. And he's looked at it in the long term and said, okay, you know, I can't push to the max on these two events. I have to make sure that I give myself time for this relationship to start working, but I don't want to be giving things away. And he's done that. He's kept himself very much in the hunt on each rally for good points. You know what? He's in a great position, as good a position as he's been in.
Absolutely, and we have seen in the past, you know, we've seen Thierry get into these really strong positions and then drop the ball. You know, he has not done that here. For me, this is one of Thierry's strongest, most mature, consistent drives, given that he was compromised.
Two of them. You got to include Monty in that.
Totally, and he was, you know, in this place where things are happening so quickly. You know, the corners are coming. You know, you're at 200 kph and you've got a corner there. You need absolute confidence that it's going to flow. It's that thing that we talked about. It doesn't. It just seeps into your head. You're not listening to it. It's just all happening. He was having to listen, and that compromises the driver when they're really having to
and doubting what he was hearing. That's the biggest problem.
Exactly. You know? And he said, you know, I can't remember those couple of words, but you know, whenever he had those words, he would be thinking, is it? Isn't it? And he, at these speeds in these roads, you cannot do that. So to have that, to finish in that position with a degree of margin is great.
Thierry Neuville had to change something to be world champion. Something had to change. That it's a forced change. Yeah. Things can only get better from here. There's no question about that. It can only get better. Maybe, just maybe, Thierry Neuville is on course to fulfil the talent that we've all thought was there. We all know it's there. I mean, you know.
If you had said to Thierry Neuville on the eve of Monte Carlo, when he just found out that Vidiga was getting in the car with no test, with no shakedown, with nothing, if you'd said to him, at the end of round 2, you'll be 4 points off the championship lead, he would have taken that.
He'd have absolutely embraced it, run off with it.
Yeah.
Great stuff from Thierry Neuville. Very, very impressive. As you say, you can't underestimate the quality of that team's performance through the last two events. Now, a quick word for Craig Breen, beating himself up at stage ends. You're not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that. But my goodness me.
Look what he did.
Look what he did in that power stage. He looked, after the first stage this morning, remember he went into the day with a 10 and a bit second lead over Evans. He lost 7 and a bit in the opening stage, and we all thought, what is going on here? Went back to service, studied the data, bit of a reset, bang, he knocked it in on that final stage.
He certainly did, and what a great way. Okay, it's been, by Craig's own admission, a middling event for him. It's been a difficult one, but what a way to go home. On the back of that, you know, a really, really strong stage. Contributing
to the manufacturers' efforts and contributing to both Thierry Neuville and Ott Tanak's drivers' aspirations, because he's taking points off the opposition.
Yeah,
Couldn't really have done more. Do you want to talk a little bit more about Kalle Rothenberg? We've talked a little bit about him. Do you think we've covered Rothenberg?
We've been able to watch as the rally has evolved. You've watched his face and his shoulders drop a little bit, because he came here really keen, desperate to make his first win. And it didn't work. And he said, this morning he said to us, I'm doing everything I can. I'm driving cleanly. I'm driving well. And the time's not there. And it's like we said yesterday, it's the first time this has ever happened to him. And it must be frustrating. It's been a tough one, but, he goes away as championship leader. Again,
he has the pace.
He has the pace, but I think he would have swapped the championship lead for the rally win for sure.
No doubt about that. No doubt about that. He's got the pace. He doesn't have the experience of certain rallies. What he's got this year, he's got 3 new rallies where everyone's experience is the same. So we go to Croatia next. It's new to everyone. He likes the tarmac. We know he's quick on the tarmac. He's got every chance of pushing for the win there. That's some situation to find himself in at his age. Going to events, knowing, I can win stages, not a problem. I can win rallies. That's possible. Fantastic achievement from him. Sébastien Ogier, very pragmatic is the word to use at the end of the
pragmatic.
Weekend. Still in the hunt, very much in the hunt. 8 off the lead of the championship. He won't be too disappointed. It could have been a lot worse.
Like you said, and he said today, losing a 6th place, it hurts, but it doesn't hurt as much as losing a win. And there is no doubt. When we were talking to him, you can see the fires in his eyes for Croatia. He'll go home, he doesn't, I was going to say he'll go home and have a reset. He doesn't need any of that.
No.
It was a simple, small mistake that he paid a very heavy price for.
He drove well, apart from that little mistake. He drove hard, well. He drove, he was committed.
There's an element that these conditions are difficult. As the ruts came, he's not comfortable with the car moving a lot in and out of the ruts. I do think potentially there is an element that it got into his head and it does, it does get into your head when you're giving that time away, running first on the road on a Friday. It was a huge amount of time. He dropped 40 odd seconds.
40 odd seconds, yeah.
It was a lot. And you go to bed on Friday night thinking, wow.
But he was doing the
job. And I'm now also in one of the worst positions all the way on Saturday. And it was a difficult one, but he's a champ. He's a 7-time champ. He'll be back.
And he's still very much in the fight for this year's championship. If we're rounding out our top 2 teams, we clearly have to talk about Alvin Evans. He dominated, surprised some last year in Sweden with what was probably, actually I think definitely, the best performance of his career. It was fast, it was clean, it was neat, it was dominant, it was very, very impressive. Didn't manage to find that level of performance. But again, he's looking at the big picture. He's looking at the season, and it's not good. He said it's not been a good weekend. But by the same measure, it's not a bad weekend.
It's not, same issue, isn't it? There was the balance in the car wasn't really there. They struggled with the test, and Alvin said, this temperature thing did make a big difference. A lot of understeer in the car, same for Calais. Yeah, also second on the road through Friday, 5th. I was a little bit surprised he didn't move to 4th. After he'd taken all of that time out of Craig on the first one. But fair dues, credit to Craig. He put the time in there, and Alvin, he's still in the hunt for the championship.
Very much so, and we keep saying it. We go to Croatia next. He loves the tarmac. He's fast on the tarmac. He can expect to be right there or thereabouts. Now I've rushed you through 1 of 2 of our drivers, but I'm going to take the reins off David Evans because we've gone through our top 2 teams. What I want you to tell me about now is the performance of young Oliver Solberg.
Before we get there, we really should pay lip service, at least more than lip service, to Taka. A really solid result, a top 6 result.
I totally agree.
And absolutely necessary. Came in with confidence, maybe a little after being off the road a bit in the tests. Good job.
Yeah, and on the back of Monte Carlo as well.
Yeah.
We have to say, Taka-san, we said it, I think, after the Monte Carlo rally, it is so important that we see a level of performance, a level of success from Japanese drivers in this championship. It's clearly important for Toyota. It's important for the championship as a whole. We need to bring new manufacturers in, and it doesn't really matter who he's driving for. He's driving for a Japanese team, but a Japanese driver doing a great job in the championship, creating a profile for himself and the sport, massively important.
Absolutely.
Massively important. Well done, Taka-san. Apologies that I almost skipped over you.
Oliver.
Cool. The floor, David Evans, to eulogise. Is that the word? Is it eulogy? Is it eulogy?
Absolutely. Let's move on quickly.
Anyway, it's pontificate.
Pontificate. We're good at that. It just a sensational drive. I can't really, Rothenberg has turned in some incredible performances. But as a teenager, it's great. But talking to Ogier about him tonight, and Seb said, I'm not really holding with this young thing. If you're quick enough, you're capable enough, it doesn't really matter. These guys are coming in. We talked to Gary Matty a lot about this, didn't we, last night, when we were talking about Hannu Mikkola and how late Hannu had started, and he won his championship at 41 or something. And the world is a different place now. It's very easy to forget that Oliver Solberg was, from 8 years old, he was winning cross-kart championships. He was, he's and racing, in really quite high-powered 15
fast motors.
Age 15 in a 600 horsepower RX supercar, and winning, RX events, and then winning the Rally X Nordic title the year after. He is not afraid of the speed, and you only have to go back, and it means nothing in the grand scheme of things. Go back to the Goodwood Festival of Speed in 2019, when he drove that 600 horsepower Citroen up the hill in a way that everybody talks about. And that Goodwood
Hill, not rally people, everyone in motorsport was talking about it.
And still does. You talk to Formula One people who were there, they couldn't imagine entering a corner at the angle that Oliver was. I remember I was at that event, and I remember Petter saying to him on the first run in the morning, saying to him, Oliver, be sensible under the trees. It will be slippery under the trees. And then I stood and watched with Petter as he went up through, and Petter was, he's not, and Oliver just, the car was sideways, he picked it up, he gathered it, and some people don't believe in natural talent, but that guy's genes.
But natural talent isn't always enough. You need to align natural talent with intelligence.
Yeah.
And this is what we're seeing with young Oliver Solberg. And, I spoke to Seb Marshall after the event, and he really just reaffirmed what a lot of us have noticed. He learns, he adapts, he puts those learnings into place unbelievably quickly. We saw it here 8 weeks ago during the Arctic Rally. He had a shocking first day. But he went into the service, his dad gave him a few pointers, he talked to a few people who knew how to drive on this surface. He came out on the second day and dominated.
But this is where being young really is an advantage, because you can't remember what you had for your breakfast this morning, but you tell Oliver Solberg something once, or he experiences something once, and that's all he needs. It's in there,
I think it's to do with the brain's not cluttered. It's not cluttered. Well, I tried that once and this happened. I tried that and that happened. And he has complete trust in the people he's taking advice from. And he's not questioning it, he's not doubting it, he's not compromising it, he's not saying, well, I'll do it, but I'll only have to do it. He puts it into place. And 9 times out of 10, it works.
But one thing which is crucial to Oliver is the fact that he has grown up from, his first words would have been ramp angle or stiffer spring or something like that. He's grown up in an environment which this is, 24/7. They are talking diff settings, ALS
clicks,
settings, everything.
And
so therefore, not only has he got the vocabulary, he understands it. And this, you talk to the engineers in the team, and this is what they can't get their heads around, is that he has a mechanical level of intelligence, which is probably 10 years ahead of where he is. And
two things impressed me. I went to that very first day that he was in the World Rally Car, and 2 things impressed me. One was the conversation I had with Adamo, and Adamo said, I have never seen a youngster who is capable of talking to engineers in the way he is. The other thing that impressed me is when we interviewed him, I asked him about the experience and what was it like. And without any ego, without any sense of boasting or anything like that, he said, look, the top speed's not mega. And it was like, what? And that's because of what you say, because he has been in.
But he's been used to accelerating to 60 miles an hour, 100 kilometres an hour in 3 seconds. And he's been used to firing the car out of corners. And
so the best ever debut in a World Rally Car? I can't think off the top of my head of a better one.
I can't. I think we need to put a bit of research in.
Well,
but it's right up there.
Third in third in stage 2, fourth in stage 2. Sorry, third in stage 3. I mean, and then going on, and the performance in the power stage. He wanted to give it everything, and we saw a little spin at the end. But there we are, wonderful performance. We've got so much to look forward to with Oliver Solberg.
100%.
No question about that. Now, one or two other things just before we wrap this one up. We need to talk just quite quickly about WRC2, about the performance of Esa-Pekka Lappi. I have, for the first time in probably 2 years, I have really enjoyed talking to Esa-Pekka because he's been in such a positive mood. And do you know what? You only had to look at his driving in the stages to understand how much fun he was having.
It was an absolute breath of fresh air, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it really
You know,
was.
he was completely relaxed, totally enjoying himself, and he set himself one objective: to come here and to win WRC2 in Andreas Mikkelsen style, to dominate. Rally 2 class. He did it. You know, so there he has essentially just said to every team principal, I'm here.
Don't forget me.
Don't
and
forget
what
me.
he said to me was, look, you know, people are talking about contracts, people are talking about bringing drivers in, a lot of people are talking about Andreas. I wanted them to say in the same breath, or Esa-Pekka Lappi. And that is what he's done this weekend. A fantastic
But I think,
performance.
I mean, yeah, you're quite right. But equally, we do need to give credit to Mikkelsen. He power stage he won. I suppose, I mean, it was difficult, wasn't it? Because Lappi wasn't going to risk everything.
No, of course not. No. And Mikkelsen had a massive point to prove in that stage.
What we have to give credit to the Mikkelsen Olaf Lund team for losing how many?
4 kilos, 5 kilos nearly between them.
Well, Ola reckoned he won the race to
3 kilos, and he's quite a skinny lad as it is.
Oh, yeah.
You and I could lose 3 kilos, and you might not notice it. We've got more than 3 to lose.
Yeah, moving on.
So, David, any other notable performances? That you'd
the
like to
notable
mention?
performance that I think we have to register here is from the organisers of this rally. You know, they finished one event, Arctic Lapland Rally. The next day they started work. You know, to Kai Tarkiainen and his team, just absolute massive congratulations, fantastic effort. You've put on a world-class event in world-class conditions. Final word, once again, the whole event tinged with that sadness of losing Hannu Mikkola. Fabulous to see at the podium, the minute's silence and the flyby from the Finnish Air Force. It really is it's such a shame when these things happen on an event, because it does detract. But equally, I think as a community, you can come together and you can rejoice in memories of him. And that's what we've done. You know, we've spoken to so many people, and there's so much that you forget that Hannu did, and you know, some correspondence with the family and stuff, and he's a very, very special man who will live long in our memories.
And there's something really fitting, isn't there, about, you know, the weekend where we lost a Finnish great, a Finnish world champion,
and we now
having
have
the youngest ever Finnish leader of the World Rally
100%.
Championship. There's something very fitting in that. Folks, I have to say it's been an absolute joy having you along with us this weekend at what David has quite rightly said was a world-class event here north of the Arctic Circle. A long wait until we see you again on event, but don't forget, you know, this man here is always sniffing out the stories. We've got plenty to come. We've got podcasts with the always opinionated George Donaldson and the lovely Lisa O'Sullivan. We've got 1 or 2 interesting little video series as well that will bring you away. You will not be lacking in rally news, rally information.
One of them does involve Colin dressing up. It's worth looking out for.
It really is worth looking out for, and being slightly headmasterly perhaps as well, David. I think I can manage that. It has been a great week here. Thank you all very much for joining us at the Arctic Rally of Finland. DirtFish.com is
the last time you said it, Arctic Rally Finland. You've done so well for 2.5 days, and then you...
Is that you being headmasterly?
Yeah, I suppose it is. Do that.
Thank you for joining us at the Arctic Rally of Finland.
No,
we'll see
you've
you
just
all.
done it again. Let me. Thank you for joining us at Arctic Rally Finland.
See you soon.
In association with Camp. Well, I thought we could do that last bit.
See you all soon. Bye. Say bye, David.
Bye-bye.